Don MacLean, the Clippers broadcaster, joining us. Donnie, how are you?
Hey, Dan. I was already up. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got kids, so you're up.
Exactly.
Help me with what's going on here with the Clippers, trying to understand how this all plays out.
Well, the Clippers are in a good spot. I mean, obviously, all the people who are reporting on this Clippers-Celtics thing can't be wrong. There has to be discussions going on, but the reason I say they're in a good spot is their fallback is Byron Scott, Lionel Hollins, or Brian Shaw. So if nothing gets done, if the Celtics ask for too much in return or they just can't figure it out, they're in a pretty good spot to get one of those other three coaches.
But as far as players, is it one of those, we'll give you Doc Rivers, but you have to take and you also have to give? So how valuable is that package of what they have to give or what they're taking in?
Yeah, if I'm the Clippers, I try and do everything I can to make this happen. The last thing I just read is that the Celtics want another draft pick. And you know what? If you're going all in, which it sounds like the Clippers are, you're going to give Chris Paul a max contract, you're going to pay Kevin Garnett, you're going to pay Doc Rivers. Does that draft pick really mean that much? You're going all in for right now to win a championship right now. So if that really is the case, that it's just one extra draft pick, I bet it gets done.
Yeah, I'm all for that because, these draft picks aren't as valuable as they once were. How many great players are coming out and you have to develop these kids. The Clippers want to win now. They have an opportunity to win now. And you're saying to Chris Paul, I'm going to bring in your guy and we're going to bring in some help. And I thought KG was going to be with them at the trade deadline. I'd heard Chris Paul did a pretty good job in selling KG, but then somebody got cold feet at the very end. You would know better than I would inside there. How close was KG to joining the Clippers at the trade deadline?
It didn't seem like it was all that close, but it certainly made sense. And getting back to that draft pick, Dan, think about it. If they do get Doc Rivers and Kevin Garnett, that first-round pick's going to be 25 to 30.
Yeah.
They're going to be a good team. So it's not like you're getting a lottery pick in return. But I just feel like the Clippers need to do this because of Chris Paul and what he means to that franchise. They can't let him go. I think he stays no matter what. But I think you add Garnett. You're basically swapping Garnett for DeAndre Jordan. That is a serious upgrade. And now you are a real threat, not only in the West, but in the entire league.
But I'm trying to understand Blake Griffin's role in all of this because I think he's topped out. And I think there's certain guys who add something to their game. I don't know if Blake Griffin is going to be anything more at 24 than he will be at 28.
Maybe, but Kevin Garnett helps him.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
What's really hurt Blake Griffin is the fact that DeAndre Jordan is a back-to-the-basket center. You think about Garnett at that elbow at 19 feet and how much more space Blake Griffin's going to have down low. Yes, Blake Griffin improved his jump shot last year and was a more willing jump shooter, but he never had any room because DeAndre Jordan was on the other block. So now you space Garnett out, even to the three-point line. He's got way more room to operate down there.
As far as what you're giving up, are they going to keep Eric Bledsoe out of this deal? And if so, is Eric Bledsoe going to be dealt for something else?
You would think so. I mean, because, you got him for one more year at, I think, $2 million or 2.3, something like that. But now he's going to be unrestricted next summer. So do you keep him all year to let him walk, or do you get something? It's interesting to me that they're really fighting to keep him now. I mean, I guess you have to have him as an insurance policy in the remote case that Chris Paul goes somewhere else. But I think you use Bledsoe to get even more in return.
What are you giving up besides DeAndre Jordan, draft picks? Is there money involved? Is it Bledsoe? So I'm trying to figure out what Boston gets in return, why they would do this.
Well, they get the cap relief. Garnett's big contract. They don't have to pay Doc Rivers $7 million. And if you're not going to be listen, if you're willing to give up your head coach and a Hall of Famer in Garnett, you know that you're not anywhere close to winning a championship. So now it's about restructuring your cap room to get, to not start over but rebuild. And so I think that's the incentive for them is they're going to have some money to play with to retool their roster.
He's Don MacLean, the Clippers broadcaster, former NBA player, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. What changed with the Clipper mentality, front office, that all of a sudden they used to take the cheap way out? Now, and I said this is Texas Hold'em. You got a pair of jacks there. Are you all in? And if you are, then I applaud them. If they go half-ass on it like the Clippers always do, then they're going to continue to be the Clippers.
I don't know the exact moment when it changed, but it changed. And I want to say maybe it was when they got lucky in the lottery and got Blake Griffin and knew that, okay, we got a superstar on our hands here. How do we build around him? How do we get another superstar to come play with him? And then when you got Chris Paul, you took it up another notch. And I think now they're in a position where everyone just kind of looking at him like, hey, you got this. You better add to it. You better spend the money because you got a real chance here. And, I applaud Mr. Sterling for doing it because you're right. For a long time, they wouldn't do what was necessary to win. And you got to give them that. Even though they lost in the first round this year of the playoffs, they are doing everything necessary to try and win a championship.
Okay, how does this play out? What happens this week, in your opinion?
I think it gets done. I think there's too much chatter. And I do think this about Doc Rivers, and he's had a great run as a coach. But I think he's too far down the road now to go back to Boston. So I think for Doc, it's either he comes to L.A. or he goes back to broadcasting or whatever else he wants to do. And I think if there's a willingness by Doc, I think this whole thing gets done. It makes sense. Garnett lives here in the summer. I have a feeling that I would say even in the next 24 hours, this thing gets done.
Good to visit with you, Donnie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
Don MacLean, Clippers broadcaster.